Hi, I'm Lucas, 26, and 5 months ago I got arrested in a Taco Bell parking lot because my brother thought his med school dreams were more important than my entire future. We were never close, me and Ryan. He's 2 years older, always the golden boy, honor roll, science fairs, piano recitals. Meanwhile, I was the creative one, which is code in our family for underachieving disappointment. He got straight A's. I got detention for drawing fake tattoos on my neck in Sharpie. You get the picture. But I was doing better lately. I'd finally moved out of my parents' house, got a job at a recording studio, started doing voice work on the side. Nothing huge, but it was mine. And then, one Tuesday afternoon, my entire life got detonated by a duffel bag full of MDMA that I'd never seen before in my damn life. I'd just finished a late shift and was grabbing tacos when squad cars boxed me in like I was El Chapo. They popped my trunk, and there it was, baggie after baggie of pills stuffed under the spare tire. I couldn't even speak. I thought it was a prank. Then I got cuffed. At the station, I called my parents. Thought they'd come rushing to help. Instead, my mom whispered, "Lucas, Ryan told us you were spiraling again." Wait, what? Turns out, Ryan told them I'd been hanging out with bad influences. And when I protested, my dad hit me with, "You always had a rebellious streak. This could ruin your brother's future. You can handle it." Handle it? Handle a felony drug charge? Bail wasn't posted. No one came. I spent 2 nights in a cell next to a guy named Keith who gave himself stick and poke tattoos with a sewing needle and a pen cap. It was humiliating. I missed work. I missed rent. And my parents just ghosted. When I finally got a public defender, we reviewed surveillance footage, and that's when things snapped into place. Ryan had borrowed my car last weekend. Claimed his was in the shop. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I tossed him the keys and went back to editing an audio reel. But now I realized the only way those drugs got in my car was if he put them there. And something in me broke wide open. Because I knew exactly what he'd done, and why. Ryan had just finished his med school interviews. A drug bust on his record? Instant rejection. But me? I had no fancy degree. No white coat dreams. Just a low-level job and an artistic temperament. I was disposable. Well, not anymore. I got out. I cleared my name. And then, I started planning the kind of revenge that doesn't just sting, it scars. I didn't go nuclear right away. That's what Ryan would have done, dramatic, reckless, attention-seeking. No, I went quiet. Calculated. Strategic. I started with the one thing my brother never thought I had, restraint. First, I lawyered up. A real one this time. A friend from my recording studio, Jules, had a cousin who worked criminal defense. She got the charges dropped by proving the drugs were planted. She even hinted at suing the department for wrongful arrest. But I told her no. Not yet. Because that would have meant going public, and I needed to keep this under wraps a little longer. Instead, I played it cool. Called my parents. Told them I understood. That I was just trying to heal, and didn't want to make things worse for the family. My mom cried. My dad grunted something about being proud of me for taking responsibility. Responsibility? I was plotting vengeance, not inner peace. Next, I started watching Ryan. Not physically. I didn't want a restraining order. I followed his socials, tracked who he hung out with, what bars he went to, what events he posted about. He was a creature of routine. Saturday brunch, Thursday trivia, and every other Monday he volunteered at a local clinic to pad his med school applications. He even posted a photo of himself in scrubs with the caption, "Future Dr. Ryan. Here to heal." It made me physically ill. Then one day, a little miracle happened. Jules forwarded me a client's email by mistake. The guy was a pharmaceutical rep who came in to record audio ads for a new anxiety med. He signed off with, "Let me know if you ever want a few samples to pass along to your physician friends." I didn't reply to him. But I did get an idea. See, Ryan was terrified of 2 things, getting expelled from anything, and getting caught doing anything unethical. So I started baiting him. I created a fake LinkedIn profile, a girl named Lexi Patel, pre-med gorgeous, went to his dream school, Penn. I knew his type. Lexi posted about healthcare reform, protein smoothies, yoga, and her passion for mental wellness advocacy. I made her charming, smart, impressive. It took 3 days before Ryan followed her. It took 6 before he'd met her. And it took 10 before he told her, on the record, in writing, that he could get her beta blockers or whatever, if she needed help focusing for exams. No one checks med samples, he added. Just don't tell anyone, winky face. Well, guess what, Ryan? I'm someone. And I kept everything. Everything changed the day I walked into his med school interview. As me. Not in disguise, not undercover, not hiding. Just Lucas in a clean button-down, holding a manila folder like I was delivering lunch, and praying security didn't stop me before the moment hit. The panel was mid-interview. 4 faculty members, all in suits, seated across from Ryan, who looked sharp and nervous and fake as hell in his navy blazer. Excuse me, I said, knocking once on the open door. Sorry to interrupt. I have something for Ryan Miller? They all turned. Ryan's face drained of color so fast I thought he might pass out. He stood up, already shaking his head. No, I think you have the wrong. Definitely not. I cut in. I'm his brother. I stepped inside. Calm. Smiling. The way innocent people do. I just thought, I said, placing the folder on the table. The admissions committee might want to see this before making any final decisions. One professor blinked. What is it? Screenshots, I said casually. Of messages where Ryan offers prescription medication to a girl online. Not for a patient. Not for research. For attention. Ryan lunged across the table. That's not. He's lying. I took a step back, opened the folder, and flipped a page so the top screenshot was visible. Hey Lexi. It read. Want me to sneak you some beta blockers? My preceptor's a joke. No one notices. The room went dead silent. I didn't send that. Ryan whispered. But his voice cracked. A second professor leaned in. Is this you? Ryan looked like a crash test dummy mid-impact. Frozen. Helpless. Doomed. I smiled at the panel. I was arrested because of this man. Falsely. He put drugs in my car to avoid a record. My parents covered for him. But I figured med schools don't like dirty secrets. So I brought mine to light. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't have to. Ryan didn't get into med school. Not that one. Not the others either. Word gets around. And that was just the beginning. Because my revenge? It wasn't over. It was just warming up. 3 days after the interview room takedown, Ryan showed up at my apartment uninvited. My new apartment, I should say, one I'd moved into just a few weeks prior. Different address, different neighborhood, key code lock. But he still found it. Because of course he did. He stood in the hallway, wild-eyed and breathing like he'd just run a mile in dress shoes. You ruined my life. He hissed. I didn't flinch. I leaned against the doorframe, sipping my coffee, phone already recording in my hand at my side. No, Ryan. You ruined mine first. I just filmed the rerun in HD. Med schools are blacklisting me. You catfished me. And you offered an imaginary woman prescription meds. I said. Maybe don't say that part so loudly in public. He actually stepped forward, hands out like he wanted to shake me into sympathy. You don't understand what you've done. I'm screwed. I finally let my smile show. Correct. He blinked. That landed. Ryan, I said calmly. You framed your brother for felony drug possession. You let me sit in a jail cell. You let Mom and Dad believe I was some burnout loser just so your little white coat dreams could survive. You've always been jealous of me. He snapped. That's what this is really about. I laughed. Loudly. Too loudly. Jealous? Of what? Your fake girlfriend, your stolen drug samples, your GPA? Nah, man. I'm good. He clenched his jaw. What do you want from me? And there it was, the question I'd been waiting for. Because revenge isn't just about consequences. It's about control. And now? I had it. I leaned in. Here's what's going to happen. I said. You're going to come clean to Mom and Dad. You're going to tell them everything. The drugs, the setup, the lies. All of it. No spin. No gaslighting. He laughed bitterly. And if I don't? I send the screenshots to every med school you haven't heard back from yet. I send them to the state licensing board, the clinic you volunteered at, and the girl whose ADHD meds you tried to flirt your way into. You wouldn't. Already drafted the emails. He stepped back like I'd slapped him. Oh, I added. And one more thing. You're paying me back. He blinked. Paying you, what? Rent. Studio fees. Legal costs. Missed income. Emotional damages. Retroactive therapy bills. I'm tallying it all. That's thousands of dollars. Good thing you're not buying textbooks anymore, I said. Put that scholarship refund to work. He stared at me like he wanted to scream. Then he walked away. Quiet. Defeated. And the wildest part? He actually did it. 2 days later, I got a call from my mom. She was crying. Full-on wailing. Ryan had come over, sat them down, confessed everything. He even showed them the screenshots himself. Said he needed to make amends. It was so theatrical I'm sure he practiced in the mirror. But the apology tour wasn't for me. That was for them. I knew him too well. He thought if he got ahead of the story, he could twist it in his favor. The prodigal son. The broken genius. The poor young man who lost his way under academic pressure. So I upped the ante. I posted the entire story, anonymously, on Reddit. Not the screenshots. Not identifying info. Just the bones. A golden child frames his brother for drug possession. Family sides with him. The brother uncovers the truth and flips the script. The post blew up. Hard. Thousands of upvotes. Comments pouring in. People calling out the entitled parents, the corrupt brother, the satisfying revenge arc. A few folks even said it reminded them of their own families. Then someone linked it to a popular podcast about true crime and justice. The host reached out, asking if I'd come on anonymously to talk. I said yes. And here's the kicker? Ryan saw the episode. Because I sent him the link. And that's when he broke. He showed up again. This time he didn't knock. Just banged on the door like a DA raid until my downstairs neighbor yelled something about calling the cops. I opened it before she followed through, mostly to protect her from witnessing the tragic, twitching mess that was Ryan Miller 2.0. You broadcasted it? He shouted, eyes bloodshot and fingers trembling. You made a podcast? I was invited. I said. They liked the story. Compelling characters. Flawed protagonist. Deranged older brother. Great ratings. His mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. He had no words. No lies ready. No smug grin. Just panic. You know they recognized me, right? He snapped. People on my campus put 2 and 2 together. You swore it was anonymous. I never swore anything, I said, stepping back into my kitchen. Also, I changed names. If people figured it out, that's on you. Maybe don't be so aggressively on brand. He followed me inside. Big mistake. He hadn't seen the wall. On one side of my apartment, I'd started taping up screenshots, photos, sticky notes, and timelines, part art project, part evidence board, part extremely satisfying reminder of how far I'd come. In the center, in big black sharp. People like you don't get to win. Ryan stared at it, frozen. You need help, he muttered. I poured myself a coffee. You framed your own brother. You tried to weaponize our parents against me. And now you're melting down because people on Twitter think you're a sociopath with a god complex. Forgive me if I don't take wellness advice from you. You've destroyed me. No, Ryan. You destroyed yourself. I just gave the world a front row seat. He backed up toward the door, staring at me like I'd grown horns. You think this makes us even? He said. Because it doesn't. I'll recover. I always do. That part was true. Ryan was like mold. Give him time and darkness and he'd start growing again. And I wasn't about to let that happen. So I launched Phase 2. I sent an anonymous tip to the volunteer clinic. Told them a former intern had admitted to casual sample theft and distribution on a public platform. I attached the podcast link. They launched a quiet internal audit, and guess what? His preceptor remembered seeing something sketchy in the medication logs around the time Ryan interned. He was blacklisted from their entire network. Then I posted the story to a pre-med subreddit. The thread exploded. Ryan's name came up, not because I used it, but because some anonymous med school group chat leaked his full LinkedIn. People dragged him so hard he had to delete all his profiles. But it wasn't just about public shaming. I wanted consequences. Permanent ones. So I filed a Freedom of Information request for my arrest record and the evidence tied to it, specifically the car footage and intake documents showing I never touched the drugs. My lawyer helped package it as part of a civil case I could have filed, but didn't. And then I dropped that packet in my parents' mailbox. 2 days later, they showed up at my door. Not yelling. Not furious. Just defeated. My mom's makeup was smudged like she'd been crying for hours. My dad looked older than he had a month ago. "We didn't know," she said. "No," I replied. "You didn't want to know." She tried to hug me. I stepped back. "I needed you," I said. "You picked the one who lied prettier." My dad opened his mouth. Closed it. I think he finally understood something. That Ryan's future had always mattered more to them than my existence. Not because they were evil, but because they believed in him so long they couldn't afford to stop. "He's not well," Mom whispered. "Then get him help," I said. "But don't bring it here." And then I shut the door. That night, I finally slept for 8 full hours. No texts. No drama. No guilt. Just peace. But the story wasn't done yet. Because revenge is nice. But rebirth? That's better. So what do you do when your brother's future goes up in flames, your parents realize they backed the wrong horse, and everyone finally sees the truth? You rebuild. But not quietly. I didn't just want to go back to how things were. I wanted better. Bigger. I wanted proof that the creative burnout they thought I was? He was gone. Ashes. I was someone else now, someone they couldn't ignore or discard. I went all in on the podcast circuit. The episode I'd done about Ryan's betrayal? It got traction, like real traction. Hundreds of thousands of downloads. People wanted more. They wanted me to talk. About justice. About gaslighting. About what it meant to survive betrayal from inside your own family. So I started writing. Scripts, mostly. And then a few voiceover folks I knew from the studio got involved. Before long, we had a small team producing a series called Bloodlines, each season a dramatized version of someone's real-life family implosion. Names changed. Voices disguised. But the emotions? Unfiltered. Season 1? My story? I didn't name Ryan. But I didn't have to. Enough people had followed the trail. They knew. And once the show hit Spotify's top 10, I started getting messages. From producers. From indie studios. Even a couple low-key offers from streamers. That's when I started getting calls from them. My parents. Voicemails at first. Apologies. Updates. Questions like, "Why are you telling people this? Why are you so angry still?" And then finally, "Can we meet?" I ignored them. Not because I hated them, I didn't. I just didn't owe them access anymore. Then came the final straw. I got an email from my old high school. A guidance counselor I barely remembered asking if I'd be willing to speak at a local alumni panel. "You've really turned things around," she wrote. "A lot of students could benefit from your story." I laughed out loud when I read it. Because if she'd seen me junior year, screaming at my dad that I'd never be someone like Ryan, she never would have guessed I'd be on the damn pamphlet one day. But I said yes. Because of course I did. That panel was surreal. Kids in hoodies and AirPods. Teachers with tight smiles and clipboards. And there I was, standing in front of a screen with a projector slide that said, Lucas Miller, creator of Bloodlines, podcast, voice actor, writer. After the panel, a few students came up. One said, "Hey, my brother always gets away with everything too. Thanks for saying it out loud." Another gave me a drawing she'd made during my talk. It was just my name in bubble letters, but it had little flames behind it. I almost cried in the janitor's closet afterward. But that wasn't even the moment that mattered most. That came 2 weeks later. I was leaving a small podcast festival downtown when I saw him. Ryan. He looked smaller. Thinner. Not just in weight, in presence. Like the world had finally sanded him down to his real size. He didn't see me. Just walked by. Alone. No fanfare. No white coat. No spotlight. Just a guy in a hoodie with nowhere to be. And I felt nothing. No rage. No triumph. No bitterness. Just done. I went home that night and recorded a bonus episode. Just me. No script. No sound design. I called it Some People Don't Deserve a Comeback. And I told the truth. Not just about what happened, but about how I healed. I talked about therapy. About cutting ties. About mourning the version of your family that never really existed. And by the time I hit upload, My inbox was already filling with replies. Some of them angry. Some supportive. But all of them engaged. Because this wasn't just a revenge story anymore. It was a survival guide. And somehow, my worst year had become someone else's lifeline. I always thought closure would come like a courtroom verdict. A final word. A slammed gavel. A letter in the mail that said, "You were right, they were wrong, justice is served." Turns out it doesn't come with a bang. It shows up in quieter ways. In the silence after an ignored call from your mother. In a Sunday morning where you don't check your brother's socials anymore. In the sound of your own laugh when you realize you haven't thought about revenge in days. Weeks. Sometimes months. But let me tell you how it really ended. Or rather, how I ended it. Because it wasn't one thing. It was a dozen little choices stacked over time. It was declining a media exec's offer to option my story for a TV drama unless I had full creative control. I did get it, by the way. It was turning down an invite to Thanksgiving that year, the first time I said no without a guilty explanation. It was standing in my new recording studio, mine, fully mine, the day I signed the lease and seeing my name on the paperwork with no footnotes, no co-signer, no help from anybody who'd ever doubted me. It was walking into the same kitchen Ryan once accused me of ruining his life in, and realizing the only thing I'd ruined was the lie he was living. He still calls sometimes. Texts too. Usually at night. The kind of messages you send when shame hits harder than the hangover. They're never hostile anymore. Just sad. Half apologies in the shape of, "Hey, hope you're doing good." Or, "I saw your name on that top 100 list. Congrats." I never respond. Not to be cruel. But because some bridges aren't burned. They're dismantled brick by brick, until you look up one day and realize you're on different continents now. That's not tragedy. That's progress. As for my parents? We talk. Sometimes. Carefully. Like people handling old china they know could shatter if you press too hard. They're not monsters. Just human. Deeply, frustratingly, painfully human. I know now that love from them always came with fine print. Conditions. Asterisks. I accept that. Doesn't mean I accept everything. But I'm not carrying their guilt anymore. That belongs to them. One night, months after everything died down, my mom sent me an email. No subject line. Just a message that read, "I listened to all of season 1. I didn't know it hurt that much. I wish we had listened sooner. I hope you'll keep telling your stories. Love. Mom." I didn't reply. But I did keep telling my stories. I told mine. Then I told others. People who went through worse. People who clawed their way out. People who found strength they didn't know they had until someone else tried to bury it. And people listened. Turns out there are a lot of us out here. Not villains. Not saints. Just survivors of carefully packaged betrayals. If you're reading this, or hearing it, and you've ever been cast as the family scapegoat, the black sheep, the screw-up, the failure, I see you. You're not broken. You're just dangerous to the lie they need to survive. Tell your story. Tell it loud. Tell it like a warning. Because revenge? It's satisfying. But turning their spotlight into your stage? That's the kind of ending they never see coming. And I promise you, that's the one that lasts. Lucas Miller. Out. Studio's quiet. Mic off. Door closed. Time to start writing season 2. Update. It's been 8 months since I posted the last episode of Bloodlines season 1, and a lot has changed. Enough that I wasn't planning to say anything, until last week, when I got a letter in the mail. A real one. Envelope, stamp, handwriting I hadn't seen since high school. No return address, just my name. Inside was a folded sheet of notebook paper with exactly 5 words, written in blue ink. "You win. I'm leaving. Ryan." No explanation. No city. No contact info. Just that. I sat with it for a while. At first, I felt nothing. Like it was some kind of prank. Then I felt that familiar, electric blend of anger and disbelief. Because what does that even mean? Leaving where? Leaving who? Running again? But eventually, after the 3rd cup of coffee and a long walk around my block, I felt something else. Relief. Not because he was gone, that part's irrelevant now, but because I didn't need the rest of the story to feel complete. And maybe that's the real update. I don't need closure anymore. I don't need the public to pick a side, or my parents to rewrite history, or my brother to say the right words with the right face at the right time. I just needed to survive. And I did. The studio's thriving. We're producing season 3 now, all new stories, all new voices. I've got a small team, a real editor, and I even hired Jules full-time. We just signed with a distribution partner I never thought would take us seriously. They did. People ask sometimes if I regret how public it all got. No. Because silence protected the wrong people for too long. Telling the truth wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about making space for people like me, people who had to burn bridges to stay alive. So yeah? That's the update. Ryan's gone. I'm still here. And the mic's still on. Lucas.